Guys, in this video I'm going to talk 20 minutes about the stock to flow model, macro perspective on Bitcoin, and I think it's really important because we found some interesting things right here. So I really would encourage you right now from the beginning already that you watch this video till the end. Put a coffee, you don't even have to watch the charts that much. You can also just listen to my voice, but just make sure that you watch this video from the beginning till the end. That is very much important, guys. And always, if you leave a thumbs up, leave a comment, very much appreciated as well. Enjoy! The stock to flow model, guys, that will be the topic of today's video. This will be a very interesting video. We are going to talk about the stock to flow model from Plan B, why it has been so successful, why it's so much diverging right now, and what is basically telling us about Bitcoin, about the macro structure. We're also going to have a look at this chart where we can see it actually a little bit better. Very nice to have you here. Of course, smash up that like button. You are going to learn a lot of things in today's video, which will hopefully really expand your perspective on the stock to flow model, but also on what might coming for Bitcoin, and gives you a little bit an insight in the really macro perspective. Not even the macro perspective in terms of a bull market, but the macro perspective of what's happening with Bitcoin from the beginning till now. So guys, let's jump straight into it. First of all, let me explain to you a little bit how this chart works. Well, the name says it already, stock to flow model. So it basically looks at the stock, that is the circulating supply in Bitcoin, the amounts of Bitcoin that are already in existence, that are in the market, and the flow. The flow is, of course, the newly generated Bitcoins, which are created with new blocks that are being mined by the Bitcoin miners, right? And the flow of newly created Bitcoins is decreasing after every halving. So the flow becomes less while the stock slightly becomes bigger, right? And this stock to flow model basically says that when the flow becomes lower, but the demand increases, so the supply decreases, the flow, the price actually just goes up, right? And generally, it makes sense. It definitely makes sense. And we have seen in the past that this has been a very accurate model. But as of recently, the model is, let's say, the price of Bitcoin is diverging quite heavily from the model of stock to flow. And we also haven't really reached like the $100,000 mark of Bitcoin, which also was something the stock to flow would predict, because for example right here we definitely overshot the stock to flow value, which the real value of stock to flow was right here roughly 4,000. We went to 20,000. And right here we didn't do that really, right? But I will talk about more about that later this video. Let me first go back to what this chart is saying. So the stock to flow model is just basically the flow in comparison to the stock, which actually is supply and demand. The demand is increasing and the newly created supply is decreasing, which eventually should create a price movement that goes upwards. Then the colors right here actually represents the days until the next halving. So when it goes red, it is the halving. So they just represent time basically. The vertical line right here, that dotted line, that is representing the halving. So we can see, for example, right here that right after the halving we have seen some nice rallies in the Bitcoin price. Actually, after each halving we have seen a massive rally in the Bitcoin price. Also very interesting, also something I want to talk about. So guys, let's have a look at the Bitcoin price in comparison with that stock to flow model. And we can see it already right here. We have a huge overshot of the stock to flow model in the first bull market of Bitcoin. Quite a big overshot because the stock to flow model was $170. The price went to 1,090. That's almost a 10x, right? Then the next bull market, the stock to flow model was at 4,000 roughly. And then the price went to 18,000. That is roughly a 4x. So we went from a 10x overshoot of the stock to flow model to a 4x overshoot. It would make sense to have at least a 2x overshoot. The next one But we didn't got that. The stock to flow model was at roughly 54,000 and we topped out at, let's say, between 60 and 70,000, right? Depending a little bit on which exchange. But that's not a big overshoot. And you can already see it right here. We have a huge peak, come back down to the line, huge peak, come back down to the line. Not really that much peak. We're just hovering around that line. But the idea right here is, guys, is that the stock to flow model is representing the fair or real value of Bitcoin, and that the price of Bitcoin, due to human emotions, is overshooting the stock to flow, but also undershooting the stock to flow. So we have here an overshoot and we have an undershoot, right? But we tend to trend as a magnet coming back to that stock to flow model, which looked really, really significant right here. Also right here, overshoot, and then we undershoot, and then we kind of like ease back till the halving, back to the stock to flow model, and then follow it up because the supply is going down, stock to flow is going up. But what we are seeing right now, and this is very different this bull market basically, is that we have a huge divergence from that stock to flow model. We didn't overshot it that much. So we actually just reached the stock to flow model levels, the fair value level. And now we undershoot it quite heavily. So that means that you see already a trend right here. And this is a very important trend to watch, especially for the people that talking about super cycles and so on. The big trend is that the momentum on Bitcoin right here is slowing down. And it's maturing, which is very logical because the market cap of Bitcoin is expanding. So to get the same gains as in the first bull market or in the second bull market, we need way more liquidity right now than that we needed back in the days, right? So it makes a lot of sense. But then it also makes a lot of sense for Bitcoin to not shoot up similar as we did in 2017 or here in 2013, where we get a 4x or 10x from that stock to flow model. Right now it would more make sense that we maybe get maybe this works like a magnet and we are going back to that stock to flow level, but that we're not yet going to overshoot that one that much, because on a macro perspective, the momentum on Bitcoin is actually slowing down, and that is a very clear trend, but it's also a healthy trend, because it wouldn't be healthy if Bitcoin just only were to go up, right? There will come a time, and I think a lot of people won't expect this, but I think there will come a time where Bitcoin is entering a multi-year long bear market. And I actually think that the next bear market that is going to occur will be that multi-year long bear market. And it's also kind of already set in this graph, right? Because you can already see that we are already diverging more from the stock to flow model than we actually should be compared to the previous bull markets. Bitcoin's price is actually flattening down. And maybe it will curve slightly a couple of years like this before we actually can continue that uptrend again. I know this is far-fetched, guys. We are right now at the beginning of this bull market, so there's still a lot of upwards movement, price action that I'm expecting on Bitcoin. So for the next months or the next year, I'm definitely not bearish. But one of the things that I really want to do in this crypto community is that I want to make every single one of you aware of what I'm seeing in the longer term time frame, and that I think that after the next bull market, we are going to have a massive recession, which is going to last multiple years. And if you cannot make the right decision during this bull market, you most likely will get completely wrecked and bankrupt. And I'm not here to spread any fear, but I've seen it in 2022. And of course, also my income is really dependent on the price of crypto. I'm heavily invested. Almost all my money is in crypto. So of course, when a year as 2022 comes, it's quite difficult because you see all your unrealized profits coming down. Your hodl position in terms of US dollar value is coming down. The views on YouTube channel, whatever, everything is coming down. And this is just for 1 year. 1 year bear market was actually quite okay. We went all in exactly at the bottom and we already doubled that. So we actually gained some Bitcoin with that. So that was very beautiful in hindsight. But if we get something like this, something like the year we had 2022 with a magnitude of 4, so that's maybe a magnitude of 3 or 4, then that would make things pretty difficult. And I think that wouldn't make it only difficult for me, that would make it difficult for a lot of people. Because in 2022, cash was king and it was really difficult to get cash. All the assets, the housing market, the S&P 500, Bitcoin, everything went basically down. Right, a lot of people had quite comfortable lives right here during this bull market as they have nice investments, but 2022 was just a rough year. And I think we already completed that bear market, so that is already a worry past us. But I think also looking at this chart, we should acknowledge the fact that Bitcoin on a very macro scale, so from its birth in 2009, is losing momentum. We had a massive increase, a massive adoption, similar as we have seen with the internet. But there will come a time where we are going to have a little bit of a longer correction from this secular bull market. And that is what I call the 16-year cycle. And that is what I think is most likely going to happen with Bitcoin right now. And I also want to talk a little bit about investors' expectations, because as you know, the stock to flow model got really famous, guys, after the bear market or in the bear market of 2018, 2019. This was really the moment that the stock to flow model became very popular, right? And everyone was investing based on a stock to flow model. Everyone was talking about the stock to flow model, and Bitcoin was surely going to $100,000, no doubt. There were even some charts coming that Bitcoin would go to $200,000-$300,000, and that is all. It was all possible, but is it the most likely scenario? No. In hindsight, when we just look at this chart, it just looks quite like everything is already written in this chart, right? We start off with a explosive move, 10x from stock to flow. Then we slowly magnetize as a magnet, flow back to the stock to flow. Then we have a 4x overshoot. We flow back to the stock to flow. Then we don't have an overshoot. We flow back to the stock to flow, maybe. And maybe we don't even get that much of an overshoot right here. Or we get an overshoot really early, like I've been saying about the 16-year cycle. And that halving event is not going to be that most bullish event that a lot of people anticipating. So yeah, guys, this is something that I'm watching. Also something that I want to tell you guys why I think that the halving can actually be bearish, and why the stock to flow actually has that much impact on the price anymore, is because the more if the newly created Bitcoin is decreasing by the miners, then that means that the total supply of Bitcoin is already quite high. So when the total supply of Bitcoin is super high and the newly creating supply is super low, then that has not so much impact. The most impact has, of course, the market participants right now. And the miners right now, they don't have that much impact. So think of it like if you think of it like a big pool, right? Like a big pool where you can swim in. The Bitcoins that are circulating in the world, that are already created, are that pool of water, right? And the newly created Bitcoin is different water. And let's say that the pool is cold water, because it's all in cold wallets, right? And that the newly created Bitcoin is warm water. So when you have that cold pool and a lot of newly created Bitcoins which are warm coming into that pool, it might increase the temperature a little bit. But when that pool is already very big and the newly created Bitcoins is just a little bit, then this doesn't have that much effect on the Bitcoin price, right? It doesn't really matter when that new flow of newly created Bitcoins is being cut in half again. It wouldn't have the same effect as we had early on, when these newly created Bitcoins were actually quite a lot compared to the to that swimming pool and had a lot of effect on the temperature. But right now, the swimming pool is already so big and the newly created Bitcoins are actually so small that if you cut them in half, you wouldn't have that much effect on the price, right? The most effect is in that swimming pool already, with the market participants exchanging from left to right. That is where the influence is coming from, not anymore from the mining. That's also why it makes so much sense that the next halving doesn't have to be a bullish event. Also, we already have seen three times a bullish halving. If everyone is anticipating that, we might even see the front run in that halving, and then on the day of the halving or around that period, maybe Bitcoin is stopping. That would make so much sense for me, guys. And I've also asked on YouTube and on Twitter, like asking people what they expect for 2023, what kind of year it's going to be, and most people, they answer actually with that they think it's going to be a sideways year for Bitcoin. And that also makes me a little bit think like, yeah, if everyone expect that 2003 is going to be sideways, that Bitcoin is going to be bullish after the halving, nobody expects a multi-year long bear market, then that is maybe exactly what we then will not get. And what we will not get maybe is that sideways year 2023, after 2024 go up after the halving and just follow a normal path. Because what we have seen in the dot-com bubble too, when the internet came, and I'm not saying that we have to replicate something like that, but it is kind of a similar thing, because we have a new technology, there's a lot of speculation, there's a lot of anticipation, right? All of these things are playing a big role in the mass human emotions and the mass human hypeness, hyping around everything, right? We go off with a massive impulse, basically, wow, internet, a lot of money is being thrown, and we are seeing crazy gains which are slowly maturing. This was exactly the internet, and I wrote an article about this over on WhaleAlerts.com. You can read about that. The dot-com bubble compared to the Bitcoin bubble. It's not really a bubble, it's just adoption from technology, right? But then it's slowly maturing, and then even though the internet is being adopted and is being rolled out worldwide, everyone is using it, and the amount of users is increasing, we still had a 3-year-long bear market in the dot-com bubble, right? So I also think we can see something with crypto where we just go up during the next bull market and top, and that the crypto adoption will increase and will mature, and the technology will be more adopted, Web3 projects and so on, but that the price action, purely because of that anticipation and because it's maturing, can still enter a multi-year long bear market. Well, the adoption in the real world is increasing. So that is, guys, what I'm thinking. I think the stock to flow is a very interesting model. Thank you very much, Plan B, for developing it. I also think that it's not valid anymore right now. It has been very, very valid in the past, but the moment this model became basically really popular, it's not that valid, but we can still use it as we are seeing right now. It is more diverging, and it just gives us a little bit structure, this model, right? It gives us a structure where it basically shows us that right now we are more diverging below the stock to flow than above, which basically shows us that the trend is that the momentum is slowing down on Bitcoin. And of course, I don't like to say that, guys. I don't like to see that, but we just got to work with the reality. We got to work with the facts, right? And this is just what this model is basically telling us right now. So, very important, guys. If you like this video, if you learned something, smash up that like button. Make sure for your friends who are into crypto, who really long-term believers, which I am too, of course. But in terms of price, maybe let them watch this video. If you think this is important knowledge, if this is important information, really make sure to subscribe to this channel with that bell notification on, because like my task and my job and my specialization, I've been in crypto here since 2016. Since here I'm active. So this whole period, more than the half, almost on the half of since the birth of Bitcoin, I'm active in the markets. And I really think that it is very important that you have a plan set on when to take profits during the next bull market. That is very important, and I'm going to publish videos whenever that's going to happen. We are also doing that over on WhaleAlerts or private Telegram channel. So if you don't want to miss out on that opportunity, make sure to subscribe with the bell icon down below on this YouTube channel, but also make sure to join WhaleAlerts, which is basically a private Telegram channel, and it's basically for free to join, right? There are a lot of signal providers or newsletters or member programs which actually quite costly. I've seen some of them, they cost multiple $1,000s to only enter, right? And I don't know about the information that they are providing. I know that the information that we provided over on WhaleAlerts has been very accurate already. We are not kind of Telegram channel where you every day have, okay, now long, now short, stop loss here, blah blah blah. No, this is not working like that. Everyone has their own responsibility. We're really sharing what we are doing in the markets, when we are taking profits, which NFTs we're buying on Bitcoin, which altcoins we are buying, when to sell, stuff like that. Also when to take profits during this bull market. So, and it's basically for free. The only thing you need to do is to be an active trader on one of these exchanges that we offer down below in the comment section. And I would highly recommend to do Bybit and Bitget. And if you don't have an account on one of these exchanges anyway, and you are a trader, you're already missing out on these huge platforms, right? So it's actually pretty straightforward, and it has a low cost to enter because there are no costs. It's just you got to be an active trader, and if you are already a trader, it doesn't really matter anyway, right? So that is the service, or that is actually what we are offering right here over on the blockchain today. And our focus of this YouTube channel is really going to be to, of course, outperform Bitcoin in these markets in the shorter term time frame, but really to have a nice plan of taking profits in the next bull market and let that profits flow into different assets, let those assets work for us so we could survive a multi-year long bear market, a multi-year long recession, which I think from the deepest part of my heart, guys, and that is going to come. Even though I don't like that reality, this is what I'm seeing. And if you just entered here on the channel, you haven't seen my historic videos, you might think like, hey, what the fuck this guy is talking about. But yeah, we basically just tracking a lot of different things, a lot of different cycles here on the channel. And yeah, a lot of evidence is basically showing us that we are heading towards a big recession, but that we are not there yet. We still have a lot of good times to come this year. This bull market still has to unfold, but it most likely will be one of the last bull markets for a very long time. And I know I'm the only one who's basically saying this. I haven't heard this story that much before from others. So guys, that was it for today's video. It's a very long video, so if you're still here watching, you're a legend. Thank you very much. And yeah, guys, I want to wish every single one of you a beautiful day today, and I hope to see every single one of you in the next video.